Emotions can feel like a storm inside us, unpredictable, overwhelming, and sometimes impossible to control. One moment, you're calm and collected, and the next, anger, frustration, or anxiety takes over, leaving you wondering how to regain your footing. But what if you could approach these emotional waves not as forces to fear, but as opportunities to practice mastery over your own mind? This is exactly what the ancient Stoics believed. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Today, we're diving into 20 timeless Stoic techniques designed to help you regain control of your emotions. These aren't abstract theories, they're practical, actionable strategies rooted in wisdom that stood the test of centuries. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with tools that can transform how you respond to life's challenges, helping you stay grounded, focused, and in charge of your inner world. Let's begin. What can you truly control? This is the question at the heart of the Stoic principle known as the Dichotomy of Control. The Stoics believed that the key to emotional resilience lies in recognizing the difference between what is within our power and what isn't. As Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, famously said, "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are our opinions, desires, and actions. Outside our power are things like reputation, wealth, and the actions of others." In other words, we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Take criticism, for example. Imagine you've just received harsh feedback on a project you worked hard on. Your first instinct might be to feel defensive or hurt, maybe even to lash out. But according to the Stoics, the criticism itself, what the other person says or thinks, isn't within your control. What is within your control is how you process that feedback. Do you let it derail your confidence, or do you use it as an opportunity to reflect and grow? The choice is yours. This principle isn't just about criticism. It applies to nearly every aspect of life. Traffic jams, unexpected setbacks, or even the weather. These are all things we can't control, but our reactions to them, that's where our power lies. By focusing on what we can influence, our thoughts, decisions, and actions, we reclaim a sense of agency, even in the face of chaos. So, here's a question to reflect on. What situations do you often try to control that are beyond your power? Maybe it's other people's opinions or the outcomes of events that aren't entirely up to you. By identifying these areas, you can start to shift your focus inward toward the things you can change. It's a simple yet profound shift, one that can help you navigate life's ups and downs with greater calm and clarity. What if you lost everything tomorrow? It's not a comfortable thought, but the Stoics believed that facing this kind of question head-on could actually strengthen your emotional resilience. This practice is called negative visualization, and it's one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit. The idea is simple. By imagining the worst-case scenarios, you prepare yourself mentally for adversity, and in the process, cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude for what you already have. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, was a strong advocate of this technique. He wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." In other words, by mentally rehearsing life's challenges, you reduce their emotional impact when they actually happen. Think of it like a fire drill. You don't wait for the flames to start before figuring out how to escape. You prepare in advance so you're ready if the moment ever comes. Let's make this practical. Imagine for a moment that you lost your job. How would you feel? What steps would you take to recover? By visualizing this scenario, you're not inviting disaster, you're building mental armor. You're also reminded of the stability you currently enjoy, which might otherwise go unnoticed. Suddenly, the steady paycheck, the supportive colleagues, or even the simple routine of your workday takes on new value. This practice isn't about dwelling on the negative or fostering pessimism. It's about shifting your perspective. When you intentionally reflect on what you could lose, you're more likely to appreciate what you already have. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You start to see things that were always there but never fully acknowledged. So, here's something to consider. How might negative visualization help you appreciate the present moment? Maybe it's your health, your relationships, or even the small comforts of daily life. By practicing this Stoic technique, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're learning to cherish the best. And in doing so, you build a foundation of gratitude and resilience that can carry you through life's inevitable challenges. The way you start your day often sets the tone for everything that follows. The Stoics understood this deeply, which is why they placed such importance on morning reflection, a practice designed to ground you in intention and virtue before the chaos of the day begins. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, was a firm believer in this ritual. In his personal writings, he often reminded himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." For him, morning reflection wasn't just a routine. It was a way to align his actions with his values, ensuring that each day began with purpose. So, what does a Stoic morning reflection look like? It's not about scrolling through your phone or rushing through a to-do list. Instead, it's a moment of stillness, a chance to ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? This simple question can act as a compass, guiding your thoughts, decisions, and actions throughout the day. Here's a practical exercise to try. As you sit quietly in the morning, jot down 3 things you want to focus on. These could be virtues like patience, courage, or kindness, or specific goals like staying present during conversations or tackling a challenging task with calm determination. The key is to make these intentions clear and actionable, so they're not just abstract ideas but guiding principles for your day. For example, let's say you choose patience as one of your focuses. Throughout the day, you might notice moments where frustration starts to bubble up, maybe in traffic or during a difficult conversation. But because you've set this intention, you're more likely to pause, take a deep breath, and respond with composure. Over time, this practice helps you build habits that align with the person you aspire to be. Now, think about your own mornings. What would your ideal reflection look like? Maybe it's a quiet moment with a cup of tea, a few minutes of journaling, or even a short walk to clear your mind. The format doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it. By starting your day with this kind of purposeful reflection, you're not just reacting to life, you're actively shaping it. This practice isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Some days you might feel rushed or distracted, and that's okay. The goal is simply to create a habit of pausing, reflecting, and setting your course. Over time, this small daily ritual can have a profound impact, helping you stay grounded, focused, and true to your values, no matter what the day throws your way. After the morning's reflection, the Stoics believed in ending the day with an equally intentional practice, the evening review. This wasn't just about winding down, it was a deliberate act of self-examination, a way to assess the day's events, celebrate wins, and identify areas for improvement. Seneca, a master of this practice, wrote, "I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by." For him, this nightly ritual wasn't about self-criticism, it was about growth. It was a way to ensure that each day, no matter how ordinary, became a stepping stone toward becoming a better version of himself. The evening review serves as a perfect counterbalance to the morning reflection. While the morning sets your intentions, the evening helps you reflect on how well you lived up to them. Did you act with patience when you were tested? Did you respond to challenges with courage? Or were there moments where emotions got the better of you? These aren't questions meant to stir guilt, they're opportunities to learn. By honestly assessing your actions, you create a feedback loop that helps you grow stronger and more aligned with your values over time. So, how can you put this into practice? Start with a simple journaling exercise. At the end of your day, take 5 to 10 minutes to write down 3 things: what went well, what didn't, and what you can do differently tomorrow. This isn't about creating a laundry list of mistakes, it's about identifying patterns and opportunities. For example, maybe you noticed that you snapped at a colleague when under stress. Instead of beating yourself up, ask, what triggered that reaction? How could I handle it better next time? By approaching these moments with curiosity rather than judgment, you turn them into valuable lessons. The beauty of this practice is that it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Some days you'll feel proud of how you handled things. Other days you might realize you fell short of your intentions. And that's okay. The point is to keep moving forward, learning as you go. As Seneca reminds us, every night before going to sleep, we must ask ourselves, what weakness did I overcome today? What virtue did I strengthen? Think about your own life for a moment. What could you learn from reviewing your day? Maybe it's recognizing a habit you'd like to change or celebrating a small victory you might otherwise overlook. By taking the time to reflect, you're not just ending your day, you're setting the stage for a better tomorrow. This practice, simple as it may seem, can become a powerful tool for self-awareness and growth, helping you navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. Your thoughts shape your reality. This isn't just a motivational slogan, it's a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The way you perceive a situation has the power to transform it, turning obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who lived as a slave before becoming one of the most respected teachers of his time, put it this way: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, the meaning you assign to events determines their impact on your emotions. Cognitive reframing is the practice of consciously shifting your perspective to see challenges in a new light. Instead of viewing a difficult situation as a threat, you can choose to see it as a chance to grow. Take failure, for example. When you miss the mark, whether it's a project that didn't go as planned or a goal you fell short of, it's easy to feel defeated. But what if you saw that failure as feedback? What if it wasn't the end of the road, but a detour leading you towards something better? Let's bring this to life with a real-world scenario. Imagine you've been passed over for a promotion. Your initial reaction might be disappointment or even anger, but through the lens of cognitive reframing, you could ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Maybe it's a sign that you need to develop new skills, or perhaps it's an opportunity to explore a different career path. By reframing the situation, you shift from feeling powerless to recognizing your agency. This technique isn't about denying reality or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about choosing a perspective that empowers you. The Stoics believed that every challenge carries a hidden gift if you're willing to look for it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the obstacle is the path. So here's a question to reflect on. How can you reframe a recent setback in your life? Maybe it's a relationship that didn't work out, a goal that feels out of reach, or a mistake that's been weighing on you. What if, instead of seeing it as a failure, you saw it as a chance to grow stronger, wiser, or more resilient? By practicing cognitive reframing, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing your life. This approach takes time and effort, but the rewards are profound. Each time you choose to reframe a challenge, you're training your mind to see possibilities where others see problems. Over time, this habit builds emotional resilience, helping you navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and grace. It's a powerful reminder that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can control how you respond, and that makes all the difference. Where is your mind right now? Is it fully engaged with this moment, or is it wandering, caught up in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's worries? The Stoics understood that the present moment is the only place where life truly happens. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself of this truth, writing, "Do not disturb yourself by picturing your life as a whole. Instead, focus on the present moment and ask yourself, what is unbearable about this situation? Why can't I endure it?" For him, the power of the present wasn't just a philosophical idea. It was a practical tool for managing emotions and staying grounded in the face of life's challenges. Living in the present moment isn't about ignoring the past or future. It's about recognizing that the past is unchangeable and the future is uncertain. The only thing you truly have is now. Think of time as a river constantly flowing. If you try to hold onto the water, it slips through your fingers. But if you immerse yourself in the current, you experience its fullness. The Stoics believed that by anchoring yourself in the present, you free yourself from the anxiety of what might happen and the regret of what already has. So, how can you practice presence in a world full of distractions? One powerful technique is mindfulness, a practice that aligns closely with Stoic principles. Start by focusing on your breath, simple yet profound. Take a moment to notice the sensation of air entering and leaving your body. If your mind starts to wander, gently guide it back to your breath. This isn't about achieving perfect focus. It's about training your mind to return to the present whenever it strays. But mindfulness doesn't stop at breath. It's about bringing this same awareness to everything you do. When you're eating, truly taste your food. When you're walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you're talking to someone, listen with your full attention. These small acts of presence can have a ripple effect, helping you feel more connected and in control of your emotions. Now consider this: what distractions pull you away from the present? Maybe it's your phone, constantly buzzing with notifications, or a mind that races with to-do lists and worries. Whatever it is, becoming aware of these distractions is the first step toward reclaiming your focus. The Stoics would remind you that every moment you spend lost in thought is a moment you'll never get back. By practicing presence, you're not just living more fully, you're cultivating a deeper sense of peace and clarity. It's a reminder that life isn't something to be endured or rushed through. It's something to be experienced moment by moment. And in those moments, you'll find the strength to face whatever comes your way, not with fear or resistance, but with calm and intention. Everything changes. This is one of life's most certain truths. Seasons shift, relationships evolve, and even the strongest emotions eventually fade. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they saw the awareness of impermanence not as a source of fear, but as a tool for cultivating inner peace. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." In other words, nothing lasts forever, and that's okay. By embracing this truth, we can loosen our grip on what we can't control and focus instead on what truly matters. Think about it for a moment. How often do we cling to things, people, possessions, or even moments as if they'll last forever? We might obsess over a promotion, fear losing a relationship, or stress about a future that hasn't even happened yet. But the Stoics would remind us that all of these are fleeting. The promotion might come and go, relationships might change, and the future is always uncertain. The key isn't to avoid attachment altogether, but to hold things lightly, appreciating them while they last without letting their eventual loss consume us. Here's a practical way to apply this. The next time you're with someone you care about, pause for a moment and truly take it in. Notice the sound of their laughter, the warmth of their presence, or the way they light up when they talk about something they love. Remind yourself that this moment won't last forever, not because it's sad, but because it's precious. By acknowledging its impermanence, you're more likely to savor it fully rather than taking it for granted. This principle doesn't just apply to joyful moments, though. It's equally powerful during times of difficulty. When you're stuck in a tough situation, it can feel like it will never end. But the Stoics would remind you that even the hardest days are temporary. The pain you're feeling now will eventually pass, just as the good times do. This perspective doesn't erase the struggle, but it can make it easier to bear, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Not the good, not the bad, not even the mundane. So here's something to reflect on. What would you do differently if you truly embraced impermanence? Would you take more risks knowing that failure isn't permanent? Would you spend more time with the people you love, appreciating the moments you have? Or would you let go of grudges and worries, understanding that they, too, will fade with time? The beauty of this Stoic practice is that it doesn't ask you to give up on life or stop caring. Instead, it invites you to live more fully, with a deeper awareness of how precious each moment truly is. By embracing impermanence, you're not just reducing anxiety, you're opening yourself up to a richer, more meaningful experience of life. And in doing so, you're learning to flow with the changes rather than fighting against them. It's a subtle shift, but one that can transform how you navigate the world, helping you find peace in the midst of life's constant ebb and flow. Imagine looking down at Earth from space. From that vantage point, the planet is a tiny, fragile sphere suspended in an infinite expanse of darkness. Cities, mountains, and oceans blur into a single, interconnected whole. From up there, the things that once felt overwhelming, the deadlines, conflicts, and worries that consume your thoughts, suddenly seem small, almost insignificant. This is the essence of the Stoic practice known as the view from above. It's a mental exercise designed to help you step back, gain perspective, and see your life as part of a much larger picture. Marcus Aurelius, who often turned to this practice, wrote, "Look at everything as though seeing it for the first time or the last time. Then your time on earth will be filled with glory." He wasn't just speaking poetically, he was offering a practical tool for emotional resilience. By imagining yourself looking down at the world from a great height, you're reminded of how vast the universe is and how fleeting your struggles are in comparison. So, how can you apply this to your own life? Let's take a common source of stress, a conflict at work. Maybe you're frustrated with a colleague or feeling overwhelmed by a project. In the moment, it's easy to get caught up in the tension, letting it dominate your thoughts and emotions. But what if you took a step back and imagined yourself floating above it all? From that perspective, the problem might not disappear, but its intensity could lessen. You might realize that this conflict, like everything else, is temporary, a small part of a much larger story. This exercise isn't about dismissing your feelings or pretending your struggles don't matter. It's about shifting your focus so you're not consumed by them. When you zoom out, you're reminded that life is bigger than any single moment or challenge. It's a way to regain your balance, to see the forest instead of getting lost in the trees. Now think about your own life. What's something that's been weighing on you lately? Maybe it's a personal goal that feels out of reach or a relationship that's hit a rough patch. How might your view of that situation change if you saw it from a cosmic perspective? Would it still feel as urgent or insurmountable, or would you see it as just one thread in the vast tapestry of your life? The view from above isn't just a mental trick, it's a way of reconnecting with what truly matters. It helps you step outside the noise and chaos of daily life, even if just for a moment, and remember that you're part of something much greater. And in that space, you might find a sense of calm, clarity, and even wonder. After all, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, The universe is change, life is perspective. By changing your perspective, you can transform not just how you see your struggles, but how you experience life itself. What if you chose discomfort? It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? In a world that constantly seeks comfort and convenience, the idea of willingly embracing hardship might seem strange, even unnecessary. But for the Stoics, this practice was a cornerstone of emotional resilience. They believed that by voluntarily exposing themselves to discomfort, they could train their minds to handle life's inevitable challenges with greater strength and composure. Epictetus, who endured a life of hardship as a slave before becoming a revered philosopher, was a strong advocate of this approach. He taught, "Difficulties are things that show what men are." In other words, it's not in the easy moments, but in the hard ones that we truly discover who we are and what we're capable of. Voluntary discomfort, then, isn't about punishing yourself, it's about preparing yourself. It's like mental and emotional weightlifting, strengthening your ability to endure and adapt when life gets tough. So, what does this look like in practice? The Stoics often practiced fasting, not because they enjoyed hunger, but because it taught them to master their desires and appreciate what they had. They might sleep on the floor occasionally to remind themselves that luxury is a choice, not a necessity. Even something as simple as taking a cold shower, which many people avoid, can be a way to practice this principle. It's not about seeking pain for its own sake, but about building the mental muscle to stay calm and focused when discomfort arises. Let's break this down with a modern example. Say you're used to scrolling through your phone every time you have a free moment. It's comfortable, it's easy, and it distracts you from boredom or stress. But what if, instead of reaching for your phone, you chose to sit with that discomfort for a few minutes? What if you let yourself feel the restlessness or the urge to escape, and instead of giving in, you simply observed it? That small act of voluntary discomfort could teach you something valuable about your ability to sit with discomfort, and in turn, help you handle bigger challenges with greater ease. Now, here's a question to reflect on. What small discomfort could you embrace today? Maybe it's something physical, like skipping a meal or taking a cold shower. Or maybe it's emotional, like having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding. The key is to start small and intentional, using these moments as opportunities to train your mind and build resilience. This practice isn't about making life harder than it needs to be. It's about preparing yourself for the times when life will be hard. By voluntarily stepping into discomfort, you're not just building toughness, you're cultivating a mindset that can face adversity with calm and clarity. It's a reminder that you're stronger than you think, and that even in discomfort, there's growth. So, the next time you're faced with a choice between comfort and challenge, consider what the Stoics would do, and take the path that builds your strength one small step at a time. Gratitude transforms perspective. It's a simple yet profound idea, and one the Stoics held close to their hearts. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, gratitude acts as an anchor, grounding us in the present and reminding us of what truly matters. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." For the Stoics, gratitude wasn't just a feel-good practice, it was a way to combat negative emotions like envy, frustration, and discontent. By focusing on what we already have rather than what we lack, we shift our mindset from scarcity to abundance, from dissatisfaction to appreciation. How does this work in practice? Let's say you're feeling overwhelmed by a busy schedule or frustrated by a lack of progress toward a goal. Instead of dwelling on what's going wrong, take a moment to reflect on what's going right. Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the roof over your head, or even the simple pleasure of a warm cup of coffee in the morning. These small acts of noticing can have a ripple effect, helping you reframe challenges and approach them with a calmer, more balanced mindset. The Stoics believed that gratitude wasn't just a reaction to good fortune, it was a discipline, something to be practiced daily. One way to incorporate this into your life is through a simple gratitude journal. Each evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or extraordinary. Often, it's the small, everyday moments that hold the most meaning. Did you share a laugh with a friend? Did you enjoy a moment of quiet during a hectic day? Did you accomplish something, no matter how minor it might seem? By recording these moments, you're training your mind to seek out and appreciate the good, even in the midst of difficulty. This practice isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about creating a habit of noticing the positives, no matter how small, and allowing them to balance out the negatives. Over time, this shift in focus can help you build emotional resilience, making it easier to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and perspective. So, here's a question to consider. What are 3 things you're grateful for today? Maybe it's something tangible, like a warm meal or a comfortable home. Or perhaps it's something intangible, like a kind word from a stranger or a moment of peace in a busy day. Whatever it is, take a moment to acknowledge it. By cultivating gratitude, you're not just changing your perspective, you're changing your relationship with the world, one small, thankful moment at a time. And in doing so, you're tapping into a timeless Stoic practice that has the power to transform not just how you see the world, but how you live in it. Do you question your first impressions? It's easy to accept our initial thoughts as truth, especially when emotions are running high. But the Stoics believed that this automatic acceptance, this lack of pause, can lead us astray. This is where the discipline of Ascent comes into play. It's a practice of stepping back, examining our judgments, and deciding whether they align with reality before giving them our full approval. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, and the first step in controlling your reaction is to question your assumptions. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with someone. Your first instinct might be to feel anger, to assume they're attacking you or being unfair. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you paused and asked yourself, is this really true? Could there be another way to interpret what's happening? By creating that space between the event and your reaction, you give yourself the opportunity to respond with clarity rather than impulsivity. The discipline of Ascent isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that our initial impressions are often incomplete or biased. They're shaped by our past experiences, fears, and expectations, and sometimes they don't reflect the full picture. By questioning these impressions, we take back control of our inner world, choosing how we interpret and respond to the events around us. Here's a practical way to apply this. The next time you feel a strong emotional reaction, whether it's anger, frustration, or even excitement, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Am I seeing this situation clearly, or am I filling in gaps with my own assumptions? This simple act of reflection can help you see things more objectively, reducing the power of emotions to cloud your judgment. Now think about your own life. What assumptions do you need to challenge? Maybe it's a belief about someone's intentions, a fear about the future, or even a judgment about yourself. By practicing the discipline of Ascent, you're not just managing your emotions, you're cultivating a deeper sense of self-awareness and wisdom. This Stoic technique is like mental housekeeping. It helps you clear out the clutter of unexamined thoughts, leaving space for clarity and intentionality. Over time, this practice can transform how you relate to the world, helping you respond to challenges with greater calm and insight. It's a reminder that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can control how you interpret it, and that power can change everything. Holding onto anger is like grasping a hot coal. It burns you long before it harms anyone else. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching that resentment and attachment only weigh us down, trapping us in a cycle of pain and frustration. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else's behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional burden of holding on. Let's make this practical. Imagine someone has wronged you, maybe a friend betrayed your trust or a colleague took credit for your work. It's natural to feel hurt or angry, but the longer you hold onto those feelings, the more power you give to the person who caused them. The Stoics believed that by releasing resentment, you reclaim your peace of mind. It's not about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It's about choosing not to let it control you. So, how can you begin to let go? One powerful exercise is to write a letter you'll never send. Pour out all your thoughts and emotions, the hurt, the anger, the disappointment. Be completely honest. Then, once you've written it, don't send it. Instead, tear it up, burn it, or tuck it away. This act isn't about the other person, it's about you. It's a way to process your emotions, to acknowledge them without letting them fester. Now, take a moment to reflect. What are you holding onto that you need to release? Is it a grudge from years ago or something more recent? Maybe it's not even about another person. Perhaps it's an expectation you've been clinging to, or a dream that didn't go as planned. Whatever it is, ask yourself, is holding onto this serving me, or is it holding me back? The art of letting go isn't about weakness, it's about strength. It's about choosing your peace over your pride, your freedom over your frustration. By practicing this Stoic principle, you're not just releasing the past, you're creating space for new possibilities, for growth, and for a deeper sense of calm. And in that space, you'll find the clarity to move forward, unburdened and free. Equanimity is calmness in the face of chaos, a steady, unshakable composure that allows you to navigate life's storms without losing your balance. For the Stoics, this wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was a practical skill to be cultivated daily. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "A wise man is neither raised up by prosperity nor cast down by adversity, for he has always endeavored to rely chiefly upon himself and to derive all joy from himself." In other words, equanimity isn't about avoiding challenges or suppressing emotions, it's about meeting life's ups and downs with an even keel, knowing that your inner peace doesn't depend on external circumstances. So, how can you practice equanimity when the world feels like it's spinning out of control? Let's take a relatable example, a traffic jam. You're running late, the cars ahead aren't moving, and frustration starts to bubble up. Your instinct might be to honk, grip the steering wheel tighter, or let your mind spiral into anger. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused? What if you took a deep breath and reminded yourself that this moment, frustrating as it is temporary? That's equanimity in action. It's not about pretending the situation is ideal. It's about choosing not to let it dictate your emotional state. The Stoics believed that equanimity is like a muscle, it grows stronger with practice. One way to build this skill is through mindfulness, the act of staying present and aware without judgment. When you notice stress rising, try this simple exercise. Pause, take a slow breath, and observe your thoughts and emotions as if you were an outside observer. Don't try to change them or push them away, just notice them. This small act of awareness can create a gap between what's happening and how you respond, giving you the space to choose calm over chaos. Another way to cultivate equanimity is by shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing a stressful situation as a personal attack or an insurmountable obstacle, try to view it as an opportunity to practice patience and resilience. The Stoics called this amor fati, or the love of fate. It's the idea that everything that happens, whether good or bad, is an opportunity to grow. That traffic jam. It's not just an inconvenience, it's a chance to practice staying calm under pressure. that difficult conversation, it's an opportunity to strengthen your communication skills. By reframing challenges in this way, you're not just enduring them, you're using them to become stronger. Now, think about your own life. What situations test your equanimity? Maybe it's a demanding job, a tense relationship, or even the daily grind of responsibilities. How might your experience of these moments change if you approach them with calm and composure? Equanimity doesn't mean you'll never feel stress or frustration. It means you won't let those feelings control you. Over time, this practice can transform how you navigate life, helping you face challenges with grace and resilience. The beauty of equanimity is that it's always within your reach. It doesn't require special tools or perfect conditions, just a willingness to pause, breathe, and choose how you respond. And in those small, intentional moments, you'll find a profound sense of freedom, the freedom to remain steady no matter what life throws your way. Silence is a superpower. In a world that never stops talking, where noise and chatter fill every corner of our lives, the ability to embrace stillness and quiet becomes a rare and profound strength. The Stoics understood this deeply. For them, silence wasn't just the absence of sound. It was a tool for clarity, self-awareness, and emotional control. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening, observing, and reflecting were seen as far more valuable than filling the air with unnecessary words. Think about the last time you were in a conversation where everyone was talking, but no one was really listening. It's easy to get caught up in the urge to share your thoughts, to prove your point, or to fill the silence with anything. But what if, instead of rushing to speak, you chose to pause and listen? What if you allowed the silence to linger, giving space for deeper understanding to emerge? The Stoics believed that quiet reflection was essential for self-mastery. By stepping back from the noise, you create room to observe your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without judgment. This isn't about withdrawing from the world or avoiding communication. It's about choosing when to speak and when to hold back. It's about recognizing that not every moment requires your voice, and that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply be present. Here's a practice to try. Observe a day of minimal talking. This doesn't mean complete silence, but rather a conscious effort to speak only when necessary. Notice how often you feel the urge to fill the silence, to interject, or to share your opinion. What happens when you resist that urge? Do you feel more grounded? Do you notice things you might have missed in the rush to speak? This exercise isn't about suppressing yourself. It's about discovering the power of restraint and the insights that come from listening more than you speak. Now consider this. What could you learn from embracing silence? Maybe it's a new perspective on a problem you've been wrestling with, or a deeper understanding of someone else's point of view. Perhaps it's simply the realization that not every thought needs to be voiced, and not every moment needs to be filled. Silence has a way of revealing what's truly important, stripping away the distractions and leaving only what matters. The Stoics saw silence as a form of strength, a way to cultivate inner peace and focus in a noisy world. By practicing it, you're not just quieting the external noise, you're quieting the internal chatter too. And in that stillness, you might just find the clarity and calm you've been searching for. So, the next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this helpful? And if the answer is no, consider the power of saying nothing at all. Are your desires controlling you? It's a question worth asking, because more often than we realize, our impulses, whether for food, entertainment, or even validation, can steer us away from what truly matters. The Stoics called this the virtue of temperance, the practice of moderation and self-restraint. Seneca, the great Roman Stoic, captured its essence when he wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more who is poor." For the Stoics, temperance wasn't about deprivation or punishment. It was about freedom, the freedom to choose how you respond to your desires rather than being ruled by them. Let's make this tangible. Think about screen time. How often do you pick up your phone without even thinking about it? Maybe it's to check social media, scroll through news, or simply fill a moment of boredom. These small, seemingly harmless actions can add up, leaving you feeling distracted, drained, or even disconnected from the people and activities that truly matter. The Stoics would suggest practicing temperance here, not by cutting out technology entirely, but by using it intentionally. Set limits, create tech-free zones, or designate specific times for checking your phone. By doing so, you're not just reducing screen time, you're reclaiming your attention and your time. But temperance goes beyond screens. It applies to every area of life where excess can creep in, whether it's overindulging in food, overspending on unnecessary purchases, or even overcommitting to social obligations. The goal isn't to eliminate pleasure or live an austere life, it's to find balance. When you practice moderation, you create space for what truly enriches you, whether that's meaningful work, deep relationships, or simply the quiet joy of being present. So here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life could you practice greater temperance? Maybe it's in your consumption habits, your work-life balance, or even the way you manage your emotions. The key is to start small. Choose one area where you feel out of balance and set a modest goal, something achievable but meaningful. Over time, these small acts of self-restraint can add up, helping you build a life that's not just free from excess but full of purpose and intention. The Stoics believed that temperance was a path to inner freedom. By mastering your desires, you're not denying yourself happiness. You're creating the conditions for a deeper, more lasting kind of fulfillment. It's a reminder that true wealth isn't found in having more, but in needing less. And in that simplicity, you might just find the clarity and peace you've been searching for. Remember, you will die. It's a stark statement, one that might feel unsettling at first. But for the Stoics, this wasn't a morbid thought. It was a powerful reminder to live with purpose and urgency. This practice is called Memento Mori, Latin for remember you must die, and it's one of the most profound tools in the Stoic toolkit. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, often reflected on this idea, writing, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. For him, the awareness of mortality wasn't a source of fear. It was a call to action, a way to strip away distractions and focus on what truly matters. So, how does this work in practice? Imagine waking up every morning and taking a moment to remind yourself that today could be your last. Not in a way that paralyzes you, but in a way that sharpens your focus. What would you prioritize? How would you treat the people around you? What would you let go of, and what would you hold onto more tightly? These aren't just hypothetical questions, they're invitations to live more intentionally. The Stoics believed that reflecting on death daily could transform how you approach life. It's not about dwelling on the end, but about using the awareness of it to clarify your values and guide your actions. Think about it. If you knew your time was limited, would you spend it scrolling through social media, holding onto grudges, or chasing things that don't really matter? Or would you focus on relationships, meaningful work, and the moments that bring you joy? Here's a simple way to incorporate this practice into your life. Each evening, take a few minutes to reflect on your day. Ask yourself, if today had been my last, would I be satisfied with how I lived it? This isn't about guilt or regret. It's about learning. Did you show up as the person you want to be? Did you make the most of the time you had? These small moments of reflection can help you align your actions with your values, so you're not just living, but living with intention. Now consider this. What would change if you carried the awareness of your mortality with you every day? Would you take more risks knowing that time is finite? Would you forgive more easily, recognizing that life is too short for grudges? Or would you simply savor the small, everyday moments that often go unnoticed? The beauty of Memento Mori is that it doesn't just remind you of death, it reminds you of life. It's a practice that grounds you in the present, helping you see the world with fresh eyes and a grateful heart. By embracing the impermanence of life, you're not just preparing for the end, you're making the most of the time you have, and in doing so, you're tapping into a timeless Stoic truth that the awareness of death can be the key to living fully, deeply, and meaningfully. The discipline of action is about more than just doing, it's about doing with purpose. The Stoics believed that virtue isn't found in lofty ideals or grand intentions. It's found in the small, consistent actions that reflect your deepest values. As Epictetus put it, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, living a meaningful life isn't about waiting for the perfect moment or the right opportunity. It's about taking deliberate steps every day toward the person you want to become. Let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine you value compassion. You might admire those who volunteer their time to help others, but admiration alone doesn't create change. The discipline of action asks you to go beyond admiration, to step into the arena and act. Maybe you start small, by donating to a cause you care about or offering to help a neighbor in need. Over time, these small actions build momentum, shaping you into someone who not only believes in compassion but lives it. This principle applies to every area of life. If you value learning, don't just wish you were more knowledgeable, pick up a book, enroll in a course, or engage in meaningful conversations. If you value health, don't just dream of being fit, take the first step, whether it's a walk around the block or a commitment to healthier eating. The key is to align your actions with your values, no matter how small those actions may seem. Now, here's a question to reflect on. What actions align with your deepest values? Think about the person you aspire to be, not just in your thoughts, but in your daily habits. Are there areas where your actions don't yet match your ideals? The discipline of action invites you to close that gap one step at a time. The Stoics understood that life isn't a dress rehearsal, it's happening right now. Every choice, every action is an opportunity to live with intention. By focusing on what you do rather than what you intend to do, you're not just moving closer to your goals, you're embodying the virtues that matter most to you. It's a reminder that the path to a meaningful life isn't paved with good intentions, it's built with purposeful, consistent action. So, what's one small step you can take today to align your actions with your values? The answer might just change everything. How do you respond to others' suffering? It's a question that touches the heart of what it means to be human, and the Stoics had a unique perspective on it. While they valued emotional resilience, they also believed deeply in the power of empathy and shared humanity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." In other words, we're all connected, and the suffering of others is never truly separate from our own. But here's the challenge: how do you cultivate genuine sympathy without being overwhelmed by the emotions it stirs? The Stoics didn't advocate for detachment in the sense of cold indifference. Instead, they encouraged a balanced approach, one where you could feel for others without losing your emotional equilibrium. Think of it like this: if someone is drowning, jumping into the water without knowing how to swim won't help either of you. But if you can stay calm and offer a steady hand, you're far more likely to make a difference. Sympathy, from a Stoic perspective, is about being present and supportive while maintaining your own inner strength. Let's make this practical. Imagine a friend comes to you in distress, sharing a painful experience. Your first instinct might be to try to fix the problem or to feel their pain so deeply that it weighs you down. But the Stoics would suggest a different approach. Listen with compassion, offer your presence, but resist the urge to take on their burden as your own. This isn't about being distant or uncaring. It's about being a stable, supportive presence. By keeping your own emotions in check, you're better equipped to help others navigate theirs. So, how can you practice sympathy without being overwhelmed? Start by setting boundaries, not walls, but healthy limits that allow you to care without collapsing under the weight of someone else's pain. For example, if a loved one is going through a tough time, you might decide to check in regularly without letting their struggles consume your every thought. Or if you're supporting someone through a crisis, remind yourself that you can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of your own well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. Another key aspect of Stoic sympathy is perspective. The Stoics believed in seeing the bigger picture, recognizing that suffering is a universal part of the human experience. This doesn't diminish the pain someone is feeling, but it can help you approach it with a sense of calm and understanding. Instead of being swept up in the intensity of the moment, you can respond with clarity and kindness, offering support without losing yourself in the process. Now think about your own life. How do you typically respond when someone shares their struggles with you? Do you find yourself taking on their emotions, or do you struggle to connect at all? The Stoic practice of sympathy invites you to find a middle ground, a place where you can be deeply present for others while staying rooted in your own strength. It's a delicate balance, but one that can transform not just how you relate to others, but how you navigate your own emotions. By cultivating sympathy in this way, you're not just offering comfort to others, you're building a deeper sense of connection and understanding. And in doing so, you're living out one of the Stoics' most profound truths, that we're all part of the same human hive, and that our strength lies not in isolation, but in how we care for one another. What would you do if fear didn't stop you? It's a powerful question, one that cuts straight to the heart of what it means to live courageously. For the Stoics, courage wasn't about the absence of fear, it was about moving forward in spite of it. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This isn't about grand gestures or heroic feats. It's about the quiet, everyday bravery of showing up, of facing life's challenges with resolve, even when everything in you wants to turn away. Let's take a relatable example. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and you have an idea that could make a real difference, but the thought of speaking up makes your stomach churn. What if your idea is rejected? What if people think less of you? The Stoics would tell you that these fears aren't the problem. It's letting them dictate your actions that hold you back. Courage in this context isn't about silencing your fear. It's about acknowledging it and choosing to act anyway. So, how do you cultivate this kind of courage? Start by reframing fear as an opportunity rather than an obstacle. The Stoics believed that every challenge, every moment of discomfort is a chance to practice virtue. Speaking up in that meeting isn't just about sharing an idea, it's about proving to yourself that you can face discomfort and come out stronger on the other side. It's about building the habit of courage one small step at a time. Now, let's make this personal. What fear is holding you back right now? Maybe it's the fear of failure, of rejection, or even of success. Whatever it is, take a moment to name it. Then ask yourself, what would I do if this fear weren't in the way? The answer might surprise you. Often, the thing we're afraid of isn't as daunting as we imagine, and even if it is, the act of facing it can be transformative. The Stoic approach to courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being bold in the face of fear. It's about recognizing that fear is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to rule your life. By embracing this mindset, you're not just overcoming obstacles, you're becoming someone who can meet life's challenges with strength and determination. And in doing so, you're tapping into one of the most powerful tools the Stoics ever offered, the courage to live fully, even when it's hard. So, what's one small act of courage you can commit to today? Whether it's speaking up, taking a risk, or simply showing up when you'd rather hide, remember this. every act of courage, no matter how small, is a step toward a braver, more resilient version of yourself. And that's a step worth taking. Who do you want to become? It's a question that cuts to the core of what it means to live intentionally. For the Stoics, this wasn't a question to ponder once and forget. It was a lifelong practice, a daily check-in with oneself to ensure alignment with virtue and purpose. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, self-examination isn't just about identifying your ideals, it's about taking concrete steps to embody them. The Stoics believed that regular self-reflection was essential for growth. It's like holding up a mirror to your actions, thoughts, and intentions, not to judge yourself harshly, but to understand where you're falling short and where you're making progress. This practice isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about recognizing that every day is an opportunity to move closer to the person you aspire to be. So, how can you put this into practice? One powerful way is through a weekly self-examination ritual. Set aside a quiet moment, perhaps at the end of your week, to reflect on your actions and decisions. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity this week? Did I respond to challenges with courage and patience? Where did I let my emotions get the better of me? These questions aren't meant to stir guilt, they're tools for growth. By honestly assessing your behavior, you create a feedback loop that helps you learn and improve. Let's make this tangible. Imagine you've set a goal to be more patient. At the end of the week, you might reflect on moments where you felt frustrated or rushed. Did you snap at someone in traffic? Did you interrupt a colleague during a meeting? These moments aren't failures, they're opportunities. By acknowledging them, you're better prepared to handle similar situations with more composure next time. Now think about your own life. What steps can you take to become the person you aspire to be? Maybe it's practicing kindness more consistently, standing up for your values, or simply showing up with more presence and intention. The key is to start small. Choose one area where you'd like to grow and set a simple, achievable goal for the week ahead. Over time, these small steps can lead to profound transformation. The beauty of self-examination is that it's deeply personal. It's not about comparing yourself to others or striving for an impossible standard. It's about taking ownership of your journey, celebrating your progress, and learning from your missteps. It's a practice that invites you to live with intention, to align your actions with your deepest values, and to become the best version of yourself one week, one day, one moment at a time. So, as you reflect on who you want to become, remember this: the journey isn't about reaching a destination. It's about the steps you take along the way, the choices you make, and the person you choose to be in each and every moment. And that journey begins with a simple, powerful question: who do you want to become? By embracing the practice of self-examination, you're not just reflecting on your life, you're actively shaping it. And in doing so, you're tapping into one of the most transformative tools the Stoics ever offered: the power to live with purpose, clarity, and intention. As we come to the end of this journey through the 20 Stoic techniques for emotional control, it's worth taking a moment to reflect on what we've explored. These tools, ranging from the dichotomy of control and negative visualization to the power of presence and the practice of temperance, are more than just ancient wisdom. They're practical, actionable strategies for navigating the complexities of modern life. Each one offers a unique way to regain mastery over your emotions, helping you stay grounded, focused, and resilient in the face of life's inevitable challenges. What makes these techniques so powerful is their timeless relevance. Whether you're dealing with stress at work, conflict in relationships, or the general chaos of daily life, the Stoic principles we've discussed provide a roadmap for emotional clarity and strength. They remind us that emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about understanding your emotions, responding to them intentionally, and cultivating habits that help you thrive. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher king, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This quote captures the essence of what we've explored here. Emotional mastery isn't about controlling the world around you, it's about mastering your inner world. And like any skill, it's developed through consistent practice. Whether it's starting your day with morning reflection, practicing gratitude, or embracing voluntary discomfort, each technique is a step toward greater self-awareness and resilience. So, where do you begin? With so many tools at your disposal, it can feel overwhelming to decide which one to focus on first. Here's a suggestion. Choose one technique that resonates with you most deeply. Maybe it's the discipline of Ascent, helping you question your first impressions, or perhaps it's the view from above, offering you a broader perspective on your struggles. Whatever it is, commit to practicing it consistently, even if it's just for a week. Notice how it impacts your thoughts, emotions, and actions. You might be surprised at how quickly small changes can lead to big shifts. Finally, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these Stoic techniques are you most excited to try? How do you think it might help you in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights could inspire others on their journey toward emotional mastery. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more Stoic insights and practical wisdom. Together, let's continue exploring how these timeless principles can help us live with greater clarity, purpose, and peace. Remember, emotional control isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the person you aspire to be. So take that first step today. The journey is yours to share.